Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News Extra, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya studios. These are our top stories. US President Donald Trump has signed a bill ending the longest government shutdown in the country's history. The House Speaker has scheduled a vote for next week on whether to release the full Epstein files. And the shapewear brand, co-founded by Kim Kardashian, Skims, has been valued at $5 billion. Now, US President Donald Trump has signed a bill ending the longest government shutdown in the country's history. It's been 43 days since the shutdown began, with thousands of federal employees working without pay or being furloughed or laid off. To discuss this and all of today's stories, I'm joined by news editor of Arabian Gulf Business Insight, Shane McGinley, and correspondent and columnist Gemma White. Gemma and Shane, great to have you both with me in the studio today. Gemma, so let's start with this. So a lot happening when it comes to the US shutdown. As I said there, the longest in American history. It's finally coming to an end. But lots of questions have been raised about who is actually the real winner in this whole scenario. Is it Trump for getting the Democrats on side, or is it the Democrats who still have time to have the healthcare discussions?
Yeah, I'm quite sort of firmly of the opinion right now, and I know, there are lots of sort of things still in play, but this is a 100% win for Trump. Mm-hmm. And also the Democrats have come out of it, I think, looking even more in disarray, even worse than when they went into it. So we know that 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans in order to end the shutdown. Now, there were notions that there must have been deals being done, but as it transpired, there was sort of only one very small, and I hesitate to use the word promise because I think it's one of these things that wasn't even worth the paper that it was written on, if it was even written. It sounds like it was a verbal agreement. So the Republicans evidently promised the Democrats to hold a vote on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits by mid-December, but there were no guarantees at all. Now, that's already been walked back by House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's already said he wouldn't commit to that plan. So even that tiny little bit of leverage that the Democrats believed, if they truly believed it, that they had, has already been basically 99% taken off the table. Now, the Democrats, there's a lot of infighting now. There's a lot of mudslinging in public. There's a lot of, back and forth. And there's a feeling that they are in a lot of disarray. The leadership, Chuck Schumer, he has been criticised by a lot of the party. Gavin Newsom, the California governor, has called the deal pathetic and a surrender. There's a lot of strong feelings here.
So what do you think they could have done, like hold out for longer?
I do wonder as well if Democratic supporters are going to feel betrayed by the fact that their party didn't hold out for something more concrete or something stronger.
Because it's only really till the end of January, so do you think they'll kind of look at what's happened and then maybe go for even longer or hold out in January again?
I don't think they're going to get what they want. I genuinely don't. And I don't think they were ever going to get. I think it was just a way of bringing them to the table.
But it's quite interesting when I have a look at this story, and I've read it and obviously listened to a lot of analysts on it. And I also had a conversation a little bit earlier with a Republican strategist called Adolfo Franco. And I said to him, have the Democrats lost the battle, but could they still win the war? Because a lot of the shutdown was over healthcare subsidies and the cost of healthcare to the average American, and it is extremely, extremely expensive. And also, the shutdown has come to an end. We know air traffic control was a disaster towards the end and people can't get home for Thanksgiving. But I think it would be interesting to see going forward how much healthcare now plays into the mindset of people who go voting, because the cost of living is still the main reason that people in America go out and vote.
Yeah, and I think I agree with what Gemma said about the Democrats, but I think the fact that they were kind of willing to fight on that issue, I think is honourable, and it puts them on the right side of history. And the fact that sort of Trump generally sort of dismisses it as a political football, but I think fighting for healthcare is an honourable pursuit by the Democrats. But I think it's just generally across the board in terms of cost of living. And it's interesting that in November, consumer sentiment in Americans was down to a 3-year low. So I think a lot of these kind of issues are the ones that are going to come into play, but we'll only see that manifest in the midterms in a couple of years' time. And like I said last week, I think this is just a ridiculous way of running a country in terms of having the budget become a political issue. Like if you see the British budget is coming up soon, it's not like the Tories are going to be able to hold up the implementation of whatever awful budget Rachel Reeves implements on the British people, but that's another story. So I think that's ridiculous, but I think we're going to see this more and more pretty much every year during Trump's sort of premiership and presidency. So I think we'll just have to get used to shutdowns, and the country will just have to come up with a way of coping during shutdowns, which will become a regular annual thing like turkey on Thanksgiving.
So I guess what's quite interesting is that filibuster that the Democrats used in order to cause this shutdown is a very different political landscape in the US. But do you think that we'll see changes in the US following the shutdown at all?
I think so. You'll see the immediate impact, which is about 11 billion the last time in 2018, 2019 was the impact immediately on the economy. I think you'll see the impact in terms of a lot of the furloughed workers will get their money, so they will spend that. So there will be a little bit of a sort of consumer and travel spree. So if you're looking at what stocks to go into, they're the obvious ones to choose. Also, a lot of the economic data has been on hold, so we haven't had any of that. So that will lead to increased sort of physical just ambiguity, I think is the best word. So that usually then will lead to the dollar weakening. So then gold is already going up. So anything that's priced in dollar will get cheaper around the world, which is, that's a bonus. I've heard Bitcoin might get better. But then the problem is that it's the contract workers. Yeah, the furloughed workers will get their money back paid, but it's all the contract workers, the cleaners, the park rangers who are maybe freelancers, they won't get any of that money. So they will be directly impacted. And I did look as well on the furloughed workers across the different departments. So it's not just equal across the board or 100% of them. And it's interesting that a lot of the departments where Trump is not massively keen on, for example, the Environment Protection Agency, Department of Education, they had about 90% workers sent home, while the Treasury and some of the other ones only had about 2%. You could say the Treasury is more important, but I think that's politically weighted. So the impact on the shutdown on departments will be varied, and that will have a sort of a longer term impact. But in terms of where people stand in terms of who to blame, the Reuters poll that was out just in, I think, like in the last few days, it's split 50-50, which is basically how American politics is operating at the moment, where whether you listen to Fox or CNN is where you're going to get your opinions from. So, but the IMF did come out in the last few hours in a Reuters story saying that Q4 results are going to be negatively impacted in the immediate term. So it is going to have a long-term impact, is a long answer short.
It's really interesting, though, because even, just a quick thought on this, even when we looked at the stock markets, they were actually pretty good.
Yeah, they've reacted well, but I think it'll be interesting because we'll have no figures to base on, and we've got the Fed meeting results, and then you've nothing to sort of base on. And a lot of ambiguity is not good for the stock market in the long term.
Or for investment.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Shane and Gemma, thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Stay right there as we move on to another story now. And US House Speaker Mike Johnson has said lawmakers will vote on a bill requiring the full release of government files related to the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein next week. It comes after House Republicans released over 2,000 new Epstein files and accused the Democrats of cherry-picking documents after they published emails which said they linked Trump to the disgraced financier. Here's what White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt had to say.
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you are seeing these documents that were released today, because of the House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office.
So we just heard there from Karoline Leavitt, of course, the press secretary. Two big stories happening in the US, almost side by side, crossing paths in a lot of ways. This US shutdown and the Epstein files, they almost, meet at a junction. But let's talk a little bit about this vote that's going to happen. Do you think it will actually sway anything? Will we finally get to see those Epstein files?
It's highly unlikely. This is the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which is has bipartisan support. It was brought by both sides, and I think it will probably go through the House because there's public support for the files to be released. And like I said, it's bipartisan. But then it has to go to the Senate, and then it has to be signed off by Trump himself. So I'm of the opinion that there's definitely something in there that maybe Trump doesn't want out. I don't think it's anything related to sexual ambiguity or sleeping with victims, because I think that would have already come out. And also in Virginia Giuffre's memoir, which is out at the moment, she's talked a lot about a certain member of the royal family in England, but she hasn't talked negatively and actually has been quite positive about Trump. And also, I don't think it really matters, because when Trump was running for election, he spoke, there was a lot came out in terms of rape trials in New York, and there was also other comments that he made that could be seen as not exactly forward thinking towards women, and yet he still got elected. So no, whatever's in there, unless it's him slagging off his voter base, that's the only thing I can think of that would be sway. I think if it turns out that he's had any sexual inappropriateness is probably the polite way of saying it, I don't think it'll impact him, which is quite sad, I think.
And what I think is quite interesting is we must say that Donald Trump has always maintained that he was innocent when it came to anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. And I do think the last emails we have seen released, there's no smoking gun in there.
No,
there's nothing that actually puts Donald Trump in direct contention when it comes to this, and it's very difficult to see that he has done anything wrong. But as we know, the Epstein files are just not going away. And you mentioned the former prince, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. We know of him like that now. He's been included in the new email exchanges released this week. Gemma, what more do we know about the latest when it comes to Andrew?
Yes, so Andrew back in the news. As you said, it's not going away. And I know, I think we can assume that this is what Buckingham Palace were hoping, with him being sent to live elsewhere and, moved out of Forest Lodge. I think they were hoping that it would all blow over, but no, it's come back. So what we've seen is more emails, especially from Epstein. So now it turns out that Epstein is the person alleged to have taken that famous photo of Andrew and Virginia Giuffre. So he also said in one of the emails, she was on my plane and yes, she had her picture taken with Andrew. So this seems to be Epstein contradicting what Andrew previously said in his very famous 2019 Newsnight interview, in which he suggested that the image could have been doctored. He also suggested he didn't even remember it being taken. And here we have Epstein saying he had the photo taken. So there's a lot of things in these emails which contradict what Andrew has previously said. Now, It also claims the document suggests that Andrew and Epstein were, still speaking to each other 4 months after Andrew had said they no longer had any contact. Again, there's the contradiction here. Now, this also comes at a time when the House Oversight Committee, the Democrats, have suggested that Andrew doesn't have to fly over there to give testimony, that he could very happily, do it over Zoom and do it remotely. So this is not going away for Andrew whatsoever. And I do wonder if we are heading towards a time when he will be called upon to give evidence.
And it's really interesting because we're talking there about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. We're also talking about Donald Trump. And I think one thing that we can all agree on when it comes to these Epstein files is the pressure is growing to find out who knew what when, yes, and how much people actually knew about what was going on, and nothing was said.
Well, I think what was interesting in the emails that I saw is that it shows that Epstein, we always suspected that he was befriending these people, bring them out to the island, get photos of them in compromising situations, and then use that against them to get what he wants. And all the email exchanges are all like, oh, well, if you say this, then the tail that wags the dog, and he'll have leverage over Trump, and all these kind of ways that he speaks. So I'm not sure how much we can believe of what Jeffrey Epstein has said, because that's the way he operates. But I would be interested to know, like, if that's the way he operates, what other sort of dirt, so to speak, that he has gotten on all of the other names that have come into the circle and have been mentioned, which for legal reasons I'm not going to name because I don't like getting sued. But that's, I think, will be the real sort of decider, is what else is in there and what more is to come out. Because like you said, there's no smoking gun at the moment. But I think just having any name associated with Epstein, and like you said, like we spoke about Andrew, and he has vehemently denied that he's done any wrongdoing, even though, some of the evidence shows that he's got things to be worried about. But yeah, this is not going away. Like you said earlier, Jeffrey Epstein's 6 years dead, yeah, and it's going to drag on and on and on for years and years to come.
And I was thinking recently that we look at Peter Mandelson, we look at Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Ghislaine Maxwell. They've all been the Brits, yeah, that have fallen when it comes to this, which I find quite interesting because, yeah, it's those three, all British. I don't know what you make of that.
Well, the fact that I do believe that Andrew is being made a scapegoat. He has obviously denied the allegations against him. It's as if everyone's looking to pin everything on one person. They can take the fall, and then hopefully the rest of it will go away. If the conspiracy theorist in me, kind of believes that. But yeah, it is interesting that the three British people involved. I wonder, do you think there's more accountability in the UK? It's a smaller country. The bigger pressure.
I think so, and previous presidents have had sort of colourful sexual history. JFK, a lot came out about him, so I think.
But that was actually after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it was of a different time.
But that's because
JFK,
we're now in a 24/7 news cycle.
Yes.
If JFK was around now, all of that would have come out.
Oh, of course, but.
And I think it's just as long as the cost of living is okay, which as I said earlier is a bit shaky. That's all that really matters. As long as Americans are comfortable, they're kind of like, okay, whatever Trump wants to get up to in his spare time is fine, as long as the cost of eggs and the cost of the petrol at the pumps is good, then he'll be fine.
I do think one thing, though, Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeated her call for the full release of the Epstein files. She says Democrats tried to paint Donald Trump as if he was involved, but victims themselves have said he was not. And there's starting to appear to be cracks in the MAGA base when it comes to these Epstein files, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has always been very strong MAGA.
Yeah, very dogmatic, yeah.
Donald Trump campaigned on the fact he'd released the Epstein files. They haven't been released. And now I'm actually starting to think we're starting to see cracks in that MAGA base that's been so solidified. So it'll be interesting to see.
But then if they bring out all of the files, that'll end the story. And from a Democrat point of view, it's good to sort of keep the murkiness of what may be in there ongoing, because then what you don't know is sometimes stronger than the reality.
But we'll always say, won't we, oh, that's not all the files, that's, you know, we'll always believe that there's still something hidden.
Yeah, there's something else in there, so.
We'll wait and see. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Let's move on. The shapewear brand, co-founded by Kim Kardashian, Skims, has been valued at $5 billion. It comes after it raised $225 million in new funding from investors, which will go towards opening more stores around the world. The company also expects its sales to top $1 billion this year. Gemma, wow.
Big numbers.
Big numbers. And the Kardashians do it again, right?
You can't count Kim out, can you?
No.
Struggling to say that. And you shouldn't, I don't think. She has been written off. I've been writing about celebrity for quite a long time, quite a big portion of my career. And I have seen her written off and written off and written off time and time again. You know, she's had her 5 minutes. I mean, she has extended her 5 minutes for a very long time. So she is, and the family is, part of the culture now. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't know the Kardashians in the deepest, darkest kind of, you know, Amazon forest or something. Even then you might be surprised. Now, her success, she has, obviously we know she's built upon like the reality TV show. We also have to remember she has built her success off the backs of other people's expertise. So is she a savvy businesswoman, or does she surround herself with savvy business people? Some people might say that's one and the same thing, because to surround yourself with savvy people, you've got to, you know, be pretty smart in business yourself. But I'm interested in the question, I raised this earlier, is she a hard worker or is she just busy? Because we see her all the time, you know, she says, oh, I selected the colours for this, or I selected the materials. And I think, well, were you just looking down, you know, a Pantone sheet and you tick the kind of colours that you like? That to me is being busy, and it's different to being a hard worker. Irrespective of that, I do think what she's done with her 15 minutes is absolutely, you know, insane.
But do you think, like, they must get hundreds, if not thousands, of pitches for various different products to put their name to it? And I remember Paris Hilton being interviewed about that, about the different options that she gets on a daily basis. So do you think the skill is in picking the right ones to go with and the right ones to partner with?
Absolutely. I mean, her recent foray into a type of underwear has shown not many people would have gone in that direction.
Definitely
I don't
not.
think, but she spotted she spotted a niche and was like, let's do it, and it sold out. So yeah,
and the head wraps, which have been
stop
shown
your double chin wraps,
and also have been shown to stop snoring as well. So that is the byproduct. I would generally Google this because I have a bit of a snoring problem, according to my wife. So I may be investing in some of this $5 billion possibly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just Christmas present.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can you show photos?
Can I just say one thing? I think Kim Kardashian, I know you might think she's just busy, or a lot of people might think she's just busy, you know, doing glam and doing photo shoots. But I've always watched her show, and I'm always impressed about how hardworking they are.
Right, okay.
Because, you know, it is difficult to go to all these photo shoots and to be booked and to pitch up and to meet people. That is a lot of work within itself. And, you know, she's booked out and she pays a lot of money. People pay for her to do events and go to Paris Fashion Week. That's day in and day out of meeting people, showing off your brand, selling what you're making. Because she's basically the brand.
She's at a level now, though, that's quite glamorous work, you know, being flown to a fashion week. I genuinely don't want to take anything away from Kim Kardashian, because I do think
it's remarkable,
impressive, what she's done, absolutely. And it's unprecedented. I don't feel, you know, we've talked about Paris Hilton. She never achieved half of what Kim Kardashian
No way.
has.
And
so it is absolutely, you know, it's unprecedented in the culture.
And they were friends. Obviously, she started off with Paris Hilton's stylist, then little did we know she'd become even bigger, you know. But I think the Kardashians are such a fascinating family because, like you say, they were probably the start of online influencers and taking selfies and influencing culture and body shape and everything sort of changed.
I think it was the number of them. You know, there's a lot of the sisters, and while Paris Hilton didn't have well, there was Nikki Hilton admittedly, but you know, if she'd had a full family that were going to get involved in it, and you know, it may have taken off a bit more. But it is phenomenal. Like, you know, I do admire Kim Kardashian, but it goes back to what you were saying earlier. You know, like, why is Trump not being vilified? You know, in America at the moment, you've got the president, linked to Epstein, and then you've got Kim Kardashian, the biggest celebrity who became famous for a sex tape, who was the assistant of someone else who had a sex tape. So it's kind of like when you look at what's happening in America, you're like, really, what is going on? But
these are the people you're choosing to worship
elevate
and give money to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then let's just get real for a second. If you look at the numbers.
Yeah, let's go into the business of Skims.
The reason it's not worth $5 billion is in the account of this company. Basically, a lot of really good people like Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs isn't just going to give money to anyone. So they've collectively, a lot of other people as part of the group, given $225 million. So that is the number. But the amount of the percentage, like if you remember Dragon's Den, so if you get 10%, then that is then equal to $5 billion if somebody wanted to buy it. But the number of revenue is about $1 billion. And then the reason they're going to use this is to do physical stores. So this is when it's going to get complicated, because there's 18 stores at the moment, and it started off mainly sort of marketing online, and then you could buy them sort of through online retailers. But when you start going to bricks and mortar, that's when it starts getting complicated, and that's when the costs go up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years, because we've seen a lot of brand names. Stella McCartney, Victoria Beckham, they set up stores, and that's when the profitability really becomes an issue. And now she's got Goldman Sachs that she's got to answer to. So it's going to be interesting to see, this elevates. But there's brands like Nike have tied up with Skims, and the Mall of the Emirates is going to have one soon. I read it didn't give the date, so you have to wait. Unfortunately,
I can't wait.
So it'll be extremely popular. Do you remember when Kim Kardashian came to Dubai Mall for that milkshake one?
I remember millions of milkshakes.
They had to practically shut down the mall. So, she's a cultural phenomenon, and fair dues to her. But this will be interesting to see once the costs have started raking up in the years to come.
But just a quick thought, do you, Gemma and Shane, think Skims would have been what it is without Kim Kardashian behind it?
She co-founded it with a couple called the Greeds, who have a track record in coming up with these ideas and putting them together with a face and a brand. So she had these incredibly savvy business people. Do I think it would have been as successful without her? Absolutely not. She has the reach on social media.
Shines a light on it.
Yeah, she has the whole family backing as well, because irrespective if you like the Kardashians or not, they seem to all have each other's backs, and they all cross-promote, and they will always, and you look at, Kylie Jenner, who has an even bigger following on social media than Kim Kardashian. So, no, absolutely not. I think she has been the face of it, and she's the one who's made it successful.
And I love the fact that that is a family of extremely strong women who have done really well in business. We have to give it to the ladies. And Rob.
Very strong women.
And Rob,
Who had a soft business, but we won't talk about that. Stay right there as we move on to another story now. And the latest iPhone accessory has been mocked online after revealing the iPhone Pocket, priced at a mere $230. Many have likened it to the overpriced cut-up sock. It's a limited edition collaboration with the Japanese fashion label Issey Miyake, who created the infamous turtleneck jumper. He was worn by the company's late creator, Steve Jobs. All right, let's talk about the sock then. Some people are saying, has Apple lost the plot, or is this really clever marketing?
I think it's clever marketing. I don't think they've lost the plot. I'm glad you said that Japanese fashion designer's name, because I was going to mangle it probably. But no, I've looked into some of all the documents that are already out, and they said that it's already showing modest adaptation, primarily in the Asian market. So I think it'll do very well, because again, it's a status symbol. It's something that you can wear, and you can go, look, I've got the latest Apple device that is limited edition, and I'm better than you.
I remember when that used to happen, when you got the first iPad, you would take it out on the tube, even though it wouldn't connect, so you could be cool, basically.
You want everyone to see it.
You just want everyone to be
it's
like...
having the big brand name. It's all about what we were talking about earlier. It's the same as the Kardashians. It's sort of luxury items are always overpriced, and it's a status symbol to show I can afford this, I'm at a certain level. And what's probably sad is that there's people who can't really afford it and don't need it. They will go and buy them to show that they want to elevate and they want to be seen at that status level. But it'll probably sell out and it'll do really, really well.
I must admit something. I don't know what you and Shane think about it, but I actually quite like this idea. I think it's a good idea. And the reason is, bear with me, I have to walk my dogs. I've got 2 dogs and I often don't have a pocket in my shorts, or if I've got a dress on or something, I don't know what to do with my phone a lot of the time. So sometimes I don't take it, or I have to have a little dog bag where I put my phone in, and it's a real faff. But I looked at this and I was like, that is what I've been looking for my whole life. Why has it just happened now?
For $230, it can be yours, Leigh-Ann.
I think if you
and queuing up for quite a long time at an Apple store, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I think there'll be knockoff versions from other brands that will come out, so you could probably
Or
get
just
one
buy a
there.
big sock and cut.
Maybe I'll get a pattern and do some knitting. But Gemma, is this the ultimate test of brand loyalty for Apple? Because listen, there's so many people out there who are super fans of big brands like Apple. We can't deny that every product that Apple bring out, no matter how rubbish, they'll buy it.
Yes, it is one of those brands that has such customer loyalty. And
Cultish almost like.
yes, absolutely.
And part of the cult.
I am, but begrudgingly, because my wife has Apple everything.
Right, okay. Does she also, you know, when people stick the little sticker on the back of their car, which I'm always like, are you saying that your car is, you know, made by Apple?
Oh, no.
Right, okay. You'll now see it everywhere that you look. You'll see little Apple stickers on the back of cars. So this theory that this is a test of brand loyalty for Apple customers, this was posited by this tech YouTuber called Marcus Brownlee, who called the sock a litmus test for fans who buy or defend anything that Apple releases. I agree with him. I don't think it's functional whatsoever. It looks like your phone could fall out. If you use it in a big city, someone could just reach in and take your phone, so there's zero security there. But it's not about function. You know, let's not overanalyze this. It's about the flex. It's about, I can afford this, or I managed to get hold of one, because, as we say, it's going to be extremely limited edition, and you're either going to be queuing up to get them at the store.
It's the people who bought Labubus will buy this.
Yeah, or the people who queue up for the Starbucks Bear Cup, when we recently, this week, have seen in America people getting very upset about that. So, yeah, it's not about the function at all. It's about the flex. They're going to be going online saying, I got hold of this, and again, showing that they belong to the tribe that you mentioned.
Yeah.
With us saying this about our flex with our Apple Watches.
Exactly.
I think about this a lot, because we could get a pretty normal watch, but we choose to do the flex with the latest Apple Watch because that's what everyone wants to be part of. It's become a bit of a sort of cult product, hasn't it, in a lot of senses, if we look at the watches. I don't know what you Shane's got an Apple.
One, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I think as well,
there
like,
we are.
tech companies as well, once you buy into a brand, it's easier, isn't it, to buy all the extensions and to buy all the things which connect with each other. But the sock pocket, you know, whatever we're going to call it,
maybe you should just get like a Skims legging, cut it off, and then there you go. You've got the merger of
Two birds,
multiple
one
brands.
stone.
I must say, if Kim Kardashian's watching this, if she makes Skims leggings, and also the people who make Aloe, because I buy their stuff, and Lululemon, and just any sportswear in general, put a little pocket in there for a phone.
Yeah.
That's big enough to fit a phone.
There you go.
It's what women want.
That's what women need. Yeah, absolutely. But I must admit something. I wouldn't be against the Apple sock pocket. I think it's something quite cute. But anyway, moving on. We've it's that time of the show where Gemma and Shane have chosen 2 of their quirkiest stories of the day. Oh, Gemma, your story is pretty cool, actually, and it's about the housekeeping Olympics, which is fabulous. What's this all about?
I loved seeing this. So this just happened in Vegas this week. Of course, Vegas. They had the housekeeping Olympics, and they're in its 35th year, so it's been going on for quite a long time. Now, what it is, hospitality workers from across Vegas, they all meet and they compete, as you see, vacuuming challenges. They compete in different housekeeping challenges. So we have a vacuum race, we have a mop relay, The mop relay goes very fast, actually. It was pretty impressive. We have a bed making competition and another relay, which is the tucking in sheets relay. And you know, like in hotels, they do that great tucking,
Oh, I
don't
love
they?
it. I love the tuck.
Super tight and super smooth. So they are judged on not only speed, but, you know, presentation as well. And it's done to praise or in support of the hospitality workers who work super hard, especially in Vegas hotels, which, as we know, are absolutely huge. And I just think it's quite a fun way for them to celebrate and show off their skills.
Yeah, they had something like that in Dubai a couple of years ago, I remember.
Really? Okay, I missed that one.
I must admit something, I love cleaning. It's like my favourite hobby. I'd absolutely love to do this hospitality awards. I think it would be great fun.
Did you watch that show, How Clean Is Your House?
Oh, I loved it.
With Aggie and Kim?
Yeah, Kim, yeah, I loved it. It's brilliant. I don't know how quickly I could make a bed and do a hospital corner
You
like they do.
could challenge yourself
That's really
later
fun.
on, yeah.
But I do like the idea of this, because cleaning is like a therapy, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
This is true.
So I bet you they have a lot of stories.
I was just going to say, I'd like to have the story Olympics from the hospitality workers as well, please.
Stuff they've seen.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Anyway, Shane. Oh, they might have seen some treasure.
Yeah,
Tell us about your treasure hunting.
What a seek.
You could use a metal detector in a Vegas room and see what you get. But no, this is England. So they've seen a rise in the number of what they call treasures discovered, which is basically people going around with metal detectors finding coins from, you know, like King Henry VIII and various other sort of, you know, Iron Age toothpicks and stuff like that. So they've seen a 40% rise in the number of discoveries. And if you want to find out where the best place is the eastern side of England. So if you're going to go get your metal detector, it starts at about £100 if you want to get into it. And the biggest one ever, biggest ever haul was 2009 when some guys found £3.2 million worth of gold in a field. And then what I thought was interesting is that...
But did they get to keep it?
No, half it has to go to the landowner because it's on their land.
Oh, they own
and then you get the other half.
Okay.
So, if you have a £100 metal detector and you find 3.2 million, that's a pretty good return in my book.
Bad at all.
But yeah, I could tell that you are not a metal detector.
Leanne's face is telling us that she's not into metal detectoring at all. Finds it a bit odd, maybe.
A little bit creepy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find it like that. Because I think sometimes where I've seen people with metal detectors is we've been lying on the beach or had a day on the beach and then they come with their metal detectors, you know, to see what people have dropped. And I've always thought, oh, that's a little bit creepy.
I think that's quite opportunist. Yeah,
Yes.
you know, that's kind of people's misery. You're at the beach, you've lost your money or you've lost your wedding ring or something. But yeah, I think like detectoring.
I think there might be something else going on there, but let's not get into that.
Detectoring in like a field, just.
Well, I did look it up, and usually, so we get your metal detector out. Usually, 1% of the time, you will find something up that's classed as a treasure, which means something that's from up to 200 years ago and is worthy of putting in a museum. The rest of the time, you probably just find, you know, discarded.
Tin cans.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Is there any money in this?
Probably very little, I would say.
But it's just for the love of it, like getting out.
And it gets you
doing
out of the
things.
house. I think there's a bit of history
It's probably on a
involved.
par with people who go plane spotting.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, other sort of, or I would even class it as fishing. You know, I tried fishing, didn't really get into it. I haven't tried metal detecting, but if I do, I won't be telling you, so.
Why not? We'd support your hobby.
Well, let me know when you're down the beach and we'll...
But I do think it's fascinating, and like you say, it is, of course, a hobby to get you out there and doing some things.
Yeah.
And I think that in a place like England, you've got years and years of history, so you're more likely to find something. Maybe in a newer city like we are, 200-year-old coins might not be about.
That's true.
No, that's true.
But very interesting. Thank you so much. And thanks to tonight's guest, news editor of Arabian Golf Business Insight, Shane McGinley, and correspondent and columnist Gemma White. And that's all from us on W News Extra. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on X. G&T with Tom Burgess-Watson will be coming up next. Goodbye and thank you.